We're starting the day in the ghost town of Buckhorn, Iowa, and it's pretty interesting. There's not too much here. There's a church and there's an old creamery, and actually it's right here behind me. And this creamery is pretty much what the community was revolved around. It was one of the largest producers of butter in the United States, especially in this part of the United States. They had, all kinds of different drivers and routes that would go all around the area. People from all around the Midwest would get milk and butter from this creamery right here. And I didn't find any information if there was any kind of a post office here, but there was obviously a thriving business. And now, there's not too much. It's on a dirt road. There is kind of a main road just down the way here. And hopefully if the rain holds off, I can get the drone up and show you a little perspective of the area. It got its name because one of the earlier settlers of this area had a hotel or an inn of some sort, and he was a hunter, and he had deer antlers on the doors, and so it became known as Buckhorn Inn or Buckhorn, and that's how it got its name. There's not much left of Rockville except for this cemetery, which is a heck of a cemetery located in these trees. It's kind of creepy, and I'm assuming at nighttime it would be really, really creepy. Rockville was actually a pretty important town. It was one of the oldest towns in Delaware County. We're on the border of Delaware and Dubuque County, and it was a stagecoach stop, and it had everything that a growing town would have, and it basically lost its population and became a ghost town because Dubuque became a major center, and then Dyersville was another town that's near here, and that started people started moving there, and Rockville faded away. And in the cemetery there's some very old headstones, and most there's back from Civil War times. This was a town started in the 1840s, so it's been around for a long time, or it was around a long time ago, and then faded in the late 1800s. And it was said that in 1915 there was one person living here. That's probably the last person that ever lived here. So 100 years ago there was one person here, and 100 years later there's no town, but there are a few houses there. People live, it's a rural area now. Probably used to be much, much busier. As I was leaving Rockville, I found a couple other things. There's a tree farm called the Rockville Tree Farm, which is pretty cool that the owners gave it that name. And then there's a mill. There's remnants of an old mill on the river that I saw with the drone, and then I pulled up and saw it from the road. I couldn't see it from the other way that I was driving, so on the way out I was able to see it. So besides the cemetery, a couple other things to see in Rockville. from those very recognizable Buddy Holly glasses. It's about I think a half a mile walk down this grass path to the crash site of the crash the day the music died, with Buddy Holly and Ritchie Valens, and JP Richardson was known as the Big Bopper. It's a pretty well-known story. I remember kind of the first time I realized about it was watching the movie La Bamba with about Ritchie Valens, and they were all on a tour, and they were in Clear Lake, Iowa, which is a few miles south of here. The weather was really bad, so Buddy Holly chartered a flight, and those three musicians and the pilot were the only people on the plane. Waylon Jennings was part of Buddy Holly's band, and I guess lost a coin flip, or one of them were not feeling good or something like that. He didn't take the seat on the plane, was originally going to be on the plane, and so they actually took off from Mason City, which is a few miles kind of southeast of here, and it was winter and it was really bad weather. There's allegations maybe the pilot wasn't quite trained properly to be flying in that kind of weather, and this is about 5 or 6 miles from the airport, and it crashed. So we're gonna go check it out and see what they have at the actual site.